From the Home Slice News Center, this is the Daily Slice for Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. I'm D-Ray Knight, and this is what's going on. Here's the latest on the war in Ukraine. The United Nations refugee chief says 2 million people have fled Ukraine in the 2 weeks since Russia's invasion. Filippo Grandi announced that figure today as more civilians headed for the borders, and Russia and Ukraine agreed on establishing 5 safe corridors for people to escape the fighting. People from one eastern city were seen boarding buses amid the 12-hour-long ceasefire there to allow for evacuations. However, the Ukraine Foreign Ministry says Russia has violated the ceasefire and attacked some of the safe corridors. Meanwhile, Ukrainian officials say Russian aircraft bombed cities in eastern and central Ukraine overnight. Shelling pounded suburbs of the capital, Kyiv. As the war enters its 13th day, food, water, heat, and medicine have grown increasingly scarce in Ukraine. In news closer to home, South Dakota House Republicans have passed a completely rewritten version of a bill from Governor Kristi Noem to allow employees to gain exemptions from their employer's COVID-19 vaccine mandates. It sets up a state-house clash over the proposal. House lawmakers rewrote Noem's bill to allow employees to cite any objection. Noem's initial bill has passed the Senate. It would allow employees to avoid mandates by either citing a medical exemption, religious grounds for refusal, or a test showing antibodies against COVID-19 in the last 6 months. Both the House and the Senate would have to find agreement on the proposal if a state exemption law is to be enacted. The State House is proposing cutting food tax amid budget talks. Amy Rose has more.
A bipartisan group of South Dakota House lawmakers has passed a proposal to cut the state's sales tax on food. They're floating a proposal unlikely to survive budget negotiations that have produced clashes between the House, Governor Kristi Noem, and the Senate. As the legislative session has entered its final days, lawmakers are focused on ironing out the state budget, as well as deciding on over $1 billion in one-time projects. And House lawmakers have resisted many of Noem's proposals to fund projects for universities and other infrastructures instead of pushing tax breaks.
The possible closure of VA hospitals in West River has raised major concerns in the veteran community. The VA announced on Friday that it plans to recommend downsizing facilities in South Dakota, including the Fort Meade and Hot Springs hospitals. Disabled American Veterans, or DAV, says some patients come as far away as Sioux City, Iowa, to be seen at the South Dakota facilities. There's talks of converting the hospitals into clinics, but according to DAV, that would take away important services that aren't available anywhere else within a 250-mile radius. In national and international news, President Joe Biden is set to sign an executive order regulating cryptocurrencies. Chrissy Davies explains.
President Joe Biden is expected to sign an executive order on cryptocurrency this week that will mark the first step toward regulating how digital currency is traded. The move comes as administration officials have raised concern in recent weeks about Russia's use of cryptocurrency to evade the impact of crushing sanctions in response to its invasion of Ukraine. The sanctions have set the ruble to historic lows and have closed the country's stock market. The order will describe what government agencies need to do to develop policies and regulations on digital currencies. That's according to a person familiar with the process who spoke on condition of anonymity.
Shell says it'll stop buying Russian oil and natural gas. The energy giant also said today that it will shut down its service stations and other operations in the country amid international pressure for companies to sever ties over the invasion of Ukraine. Shell says in a statement that it would withdraw from all Russian hydrocarbons, including crude oil, petroleum products, natural gas, and liquefied natural gas, in a phased manner. The decision comes just days after Ukraine's foreign minister criticized Shell for continuing to buy Russian oil, lashing out at the company for continuing to do business with President Vladimir Putin's government. Your weather forecast from the Home Slice Weather Center. Snow will be tapering off this morning, and it will be cloudy and windy with a high of 26. Tonight's low, 8. And that was your Daily Slice for Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. The Daily Slice is a production of Home Slice Media Group, hosted by D-Ray Knight with Amy Rose and Chrissy Davies. Executive producer Mark Houston. Engineered by Chris Jacquez. I'm D-Ray Knight. Have a great day.